So far, by the way, guys at home, you guys have been 100% correct in your predictions. So keep that spam on the chat so we can see your vote in a few seconds. It's still a little bit away, so I'm just giving time for the chat to be correct once again. But I'm going to hit you with a question. Who do you think is going to take it without looking into Champion Select?
I think now, because of the potential changes, I feel like X7 is going to shake it up a little bit, take the red side, and probably have the not the momentum, but have the focus to close the series out again.
Okay, X7 for you. What about you, Initialize?
I kind of agree. I think it's fairly obvious where things went wrong in that game. It was the lane priority, it was a couple of those plays that didn't go well, and then honestly just snowballs out from there and they try to fight their way back in. It doesn't work. I think there's enough info there about how that went for X7 to adapt. At least on paper, Dusty have enough cards out there, and if they are feeling now is the time to keep niche, keep comfort, maybe that's enough. We've shown they've worked through the regular season already.
Shall we show the voting from Twitch chat from game 3 to 4? Let's understand it was Dusty with 16 versus 84 from X7. Hit me. Oi, oi. Oh, getting close over there, gentlemen. It's still in favor of X7, but way closer than I expected.
Yeah, I think I can understand that after that game. Reverse sweeps, as I said, a known phenomenon, and Twitch just a little bit more faith in that happening.
It would be the most interesting way of ending the entire summer split of NLC, but still, X7 on X7. They have that experience on stage. I've seen Attila get beat up on stage and coming back even stronger. Is this going to happen? Final one before I toss it.
Are you threatening to beat up Attila on stage?
I mean, Attila is... Well, let's move on with the show, apparently. This took a wrong turn. Without further ado, Hip Brain. I'm not going to say anything special now, so take it away.
You know what? I'm not going to defend him. I'm just going to let him simmer in his own mistakes in his own words. Hello and welcome back to the Caster Desk. We're getting ready to go into game number 4 now that Dusty have found their legs coming into this series.
They were on there the whole legs. We found them.
You've got long legs. I've got short legs. And these...
Dusty finally have legs.
But actually, I feel like Dusty were on the verge of getting 0-3'd in the finals. And I feel like the fact that they were able to pull this off will give them some confidence going into the game 4. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the way in which they pulled out the victory was a very specific way, which is everyone drafts comfort. The draft doesn't make sense. It's about being on your comfort zone, and it worked for them. Can they replicate?
Well, you have a blueprint for success now. Dusty have done one thing. You also have a blue side. They have switched sides. X7, of course, with the loss, they get side choice for the first time this series, and they have chosen red.
That means they are recognizing where Dusty are strong. They typically are a team that seem to look good on the red side. Yes, we have 2 losses to kind of outweigh that opinion right now, but realistically, coming into this matchup, we thought red side would be a strong side for Dusty.
Yes.
And my question right here is, the third ban has been a mix from X7 in the first rotation. Do they ban away the Thresh right here? Because if you do ban the Thresh, we had the chat Nightmare, we're like, you can still pick Aphelios with something like a Renata, with something like a Tam Kench. It's not a problem, but Thresh seemed to be a huge problem in the bot lane. He was getting picks after picks after picks.
But I think right now, if the Renata goes through, snap that up, and that works with anyone right now. Renata is this champion which is disgustingly strong in team fights, a very strong laning support too, and it works with everything. This is a very easy first pick.
But my question right here is, if Chasey thinks that Kerberos' Darius was a problem, what stops him from blind picking that Fiora yet again, knowing how Kerberos plays his Camille, knowing that it's not going to be a huge threat for him? You open up the scenario of one of the most dangerous champions for Chasey.
This is our first Renata of the entire series because Dusty have been banning it on red side consistently. Yes, the Darius has been denied, but let's be real, Kerb is a player who has a wider champ pool than just that.
What a surprise!
The Zeri is going to get locked in here for the side of X7 for Attila. 2 losses back-to-back now, so there is that to work with, but let's see what they look to pair it up with.
It's 1 and 2 so far.
I think what Renata pairs up really well with is both the Sivir and the Aphelios, because you create so much space around these two very immobile AD carries that want to stand still and put auto after auto. So having that luxury and the rune created by your support, you can pick any of the two for Voxne. And seeing the Zilean locked in here, it might be something like the Sivir.
You know what, you could also go for an outside angle, something like Kalista, where you just slam early game. You just push it in very, very early, because the Zilean's locked in. Zilean is not a great laning support. Not into Renata either. Renata is a very strong pick with that. Of course, it is a flex pick, but why change what won you that last game? Why change what Voxne slapped on the table and said, can you deal with it? And the answer was no.
No, indeed. But we're seeing, again, Kasingo back to Old Faithful. We can't hover it this time because it's locked in for him. The Zilean has been picked up. The Aphelios for Voxne. So with this final rotation is going to be here.
I think it might have to be Jarvan.
That's not bad. Oh, that's also pretty good.
My worry here is, okay, so you get to ban out 2 counters unless X7 want to lock in something like the Swain or something like that right now, right? But I'm worried about what happens if X7 have a Jarvan into the Aphelios, and again, we have this problem of like one AD carry having to deal with the Jarvan, the other one not going to. But we have the Ahri locked in for the first time this series. I get to have my main as well. We have the trifecta of our mains locked in.
And I think that Backlands LeBlanc has been one of the most explosive and fun to watch LeBlancs in the NLC. I think it was him and Eminence that played a very explosive playstyle on the champion. And honestly, I do not mind Renata into Jarvan because you can shake him behind from the air and free your Aphelios with a Gale Force or something like this, so he's not in range for that Cataclysm to land. So I don't necessarily mind too much the Jarvan coming in here for the side of X7, especially if you have LeBlanc as well, and it's very slippery. My only worry right here is that Dusty are going to have to blind pick the top lane, which has been
a very good point.
A big volatile lane for them in games 1 and 2, and only when Kerberos could actually counterpick the Darius was he able to turn things around.
Do you know what, I'm going to be real with you? I actually don't like the GP ban if you're blind picking top, because GP is a very blind pickable top lane. Like, we know Kerb plays this champ. We know he's very sustainable up there and pretty safe, and that's what Kerb needs to be able to do, is just catch lanes, catch waves, and just ult when action breaks out with the LeBlanc elsewhere.
I think maybe X7 would say to themselves, actually, we don't have enough engage ourselves right now. If we pick something like a GP, maybe we're lacking that. Of course, you're looking to get some of that from the jungle too, right? Especially when you're looking at Viking. Viking has always been a larger facilitator. Especially without his primary carry jungler at the Rek'Sai, it will be more of a facilitator role from the champions he's shown so far.
Yeah, and I'd say Gangplank makes the life of Aphelios in teamfights really difficult with all the barrels and the cannon barrage, but Wukong is a champion we haven't necessarily seen much in this particular series. Something that in other series, for example, Astralis and Excel and stuff, it was a prominent champion that we saw a lot in the picks and the bans. And right here, I say, run it back. Go back to your graves in the jungle and pick a top lane champion that will not die very easily. My mind goes straight to something like the Nasus potentially for Kerberos.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, final rotation here. Coming in for the side of Dusty. They pick up the Xin Zhao, which Linker's picked in the first game. I would argue he was pretty inactive on that. That might have just been because of the state of the lanes as well. So, you have to look at it from all sides here. And it looks like Kerb actually leaning into something a little bit more traditional here, going for that Sejuani in the top lane. Is this a niche pick? No. Can he maybe start to drive up those wins on non-niche picks? Hopefully, because I want to go to game 5.
He's going to have to. Because I look at X7 and they have a lot of ability to just run at you in this game. Zilean speed up, Zeri being very fast, Wukong, Ahri, lots of target access. That Aphelios is going to have to be protected very, very well. And if you don't do well in that 4v4, if you get that isolated side lane, Fiora is going to be an issue.
But right here, Dusty are running it back in a way where they're like, okay, we put our players on Comfort Champions in game number 3 to start picking up steam. Right here, this composition makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
2 mid shields in front of the Aphelios, the Renata to protect him in the backline, backland on his LeBlanc versus 5 squishy champions. You can literally poke and bully all 5 on the side of X7 if that LeBlanc gets ahead. So I'm looking at Dusty's composition, and for the first time, I'm like, wow, that looks pretty darn good.
And actually, that looks pretty damn dusty. That is a team fighting comp. That is a team that is set up to let them Voxne absolutely run amok. You have the CC, you have the engage. Yes, you have a LeBlanc. He's not a traditional team fighter. She's more a flanking assassin. But you have the tools to set up for what we expected from Dusty coming into this series. They are the team fighting team in this finals.
So, we have ourselves a competitive draft again.
Yes.
And that's great. It is good to see again that both these teams can start to adapt. This is what these best of fives are great for. And you know, Dusty have needed some time to get warmed up. The question is whether they can go straight back to that comfort and go into another comp, which is probably makes a bit more sense, as you were saying, because that last game, it was so much carried by individual performances. They will need something similar again. There are a lot of lanes which can snowball out of control, but this time, the pieces do make a lot of sense.
And I'm going to ring the bell of a little bit of concern here. You do not have any more time to warm up.
No.
That previous game could have been the game that ended the series in a clean 3-0 for X7. Right now, you're going into another game where then Voxney is again on his Aphelios together with an S+ tier support. That bot lane needs to do well. That bot lane needs to get ahead of the 2v2 Versatile and Kasing.
And at the least, if you're Dusty, win or lose, you want to force this to 5 games. You want to prove that you are a team worth being in this grand finals. It is time to get into game number 4 between Dusty and X7. Can Dusty do it? Can they push it to game number 5? Can they find the reverse sweep versus X7? We'll find out after this pause.
Talking about though teams being worthy for the NLC title, let's not forget the even bigger picture behind the NLC title, which is that EU Masters coming up, which is these two teams going straight to that main stage to represent the NLC. And the fact that they are so close in taking the series off of each other, I'm sorry, but as an NLC fan, it gives me a lot of hopes, especially since we've got 3 seeds. And our 3rd seed doesn't look that strong right now, guys, let's be honest.
They're going to have to spend some time on those play-ins, finding their own way to success. But yeah, that is worth putting in the background, because today is about the glory of being champion, being first in your region, stamping your foot and saying, we belong.
Yeah.
There are those undertones, though, of... And it also gives us momentum going to EU Masters.
Yep.
And what a great crown that would be to reach towards afterwards.
Said it twice. We have much better chances at winning EU Masters right now. We're winning EU Masters. He said it twice in his hype video. We can hold him all accountable when EU Masters comes around.
He also said that the positive thing about Stend is that he plays Nautilus.
And he hasn't played a single game of Nautilus.
Guess why?
All finals. Why?
Because it has been permabanned by X7.
Yes, that is very true, advantage.
But his fresh was damn clean. Real clean, actually. Stend, honestly, very impressive on that. On the Renata, a little bit different. Well, I say a little bit, very different from the fresh in that sense, but it has been permabanned all series long. Let's see if this is why it's been such a prioritized champion, but it has been prioritized by Dusty, so they recognize it as a pick that is very powerful at the moment.
Okay, so doing some housekeeping on level 1s, wards on each red buff. Both of these teams are going to have information on jungle starts, but one of them's brought a sweeper to play, and Linkers didn't go for the ward into recall, so Linkers not going to get the extra ward XP, the negligible ward gold. The XP doesn't actually matter for a jungle, it matters to laners, but either way, X7 going to still be on vision either way.
Now, I'm going to bring us all back to game number 1 and Chasey playing the Sejuani and how high damage all her base abilities do, especially when against squishy, such as the Fiora. So saying this, I would like to see Linkers play a little bit towards the tops of the map, because if Fiora doesn't get neutralized in the early games, he will run you down on the side lane, and you're going to have to commit multiple members to try and stop her when she's actually farmed and has her items. You can see that Chasey has so much sustaining lane, you can bully around the Sejuani. Gabriel's also running the biscuits right here for a little bit more sustain. I want to see Linkers getting towards the top side of the map.
Oh, Attila has been caught out, but then Voxney unfortunately spent most of his Q on the minions. And Attila gets chunked out very heavily there from the side of Dusty. So a very solid start to this laning phase for the team, which, like I said, coming out of that last game, the wind is in their sails right now.
Attila that tried to go for the Captain Jack, cleanse out on the handshake very, very early on, but gets pulled back anyway to cleanse for nothing. And Dusty's bot lane don't even burn the Ignite. Advantage to Dusty in the 2v2.
And Link is actually taking this opportunity to go for a cheeky invade.
Invade onto his own Gromp right there.
Yeah, he's invading the other side now. I was just calling it early, but he's actually going for the old wraparound. Chasey doing a pretty good job here versus Curb. But can Curb bait this well enough?
And this is so important, because remember, Linkers, last time he played the Xin Zhao, struggled to get on the map early. Now he's trying to impact that lane, which Trouble had already said is so flippy. Ghost popped early.
Yeah, Ghost has been popped early, is going to look to try and get it, but it's so hard with the riposte. It's very easy to time the stun from Chasey. They do at least force that summoner spell out, and that gives a bit of space.
Very crucially, though, Linkus' jungle that still remains to be cleared is towards the top side of the map. So if you want to choose to do that, you can maybe build up a wave to try and dive, have an ignite onto Kerberos, or even keep the lane in a state where it's still gankable. Linkus will get that top quadrant of his jungle. He got the Scuttle Crab. He can try for a repeat.
But while this is happening, Backlund is actually getting the better of Tempt in the 1v1. It's Ignite versus Teleport, which means that, particularly in the early levels, level 4, you actually can get kill pressure in this matchup, particularly when you get second level into your first damaging ability, and that happens for either side. But as it happens right now, Backlund has had an isolated run at the Ahri and is doing well. Kerberos drops the Ignite topside.
Yeah, he does onto Chasey. Chasey levels up, so it might be a little bit harder to go for this dive, but they're still going to go nonetheless. Chasey not going to be able to pull this one off. Malinkus will be traded out in a 1-for-1 here in the top side. Kerb able to deny a little bit of farm to his opponent.
And that was a little bit of a miscommunication because Kerberos was already diving, using his Ignite, but Linkus wasn't really there. So by the time Linkus was there, the repost was up for Chasey, and he ends up trading a 1-for-1. And we have seen these glimpses of miscommunication from Dusty that has hindered a lot there, 2v2s and 1v1s.
I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I think Kerberos was looking to burn the riposte under tower and then dive, but doesn't quite manage to do it. I think right there, he was looking to see if he could get maximum damage onto Chasey and force him to blink. Doesn't manage it, and then of course the redive becomes very dangerous.
And he had 2 stacks onto the Fiora. You wait for the Zinzal, that's another melee jump in. You can stack up your stun so quickly and burn the repost through that. I feel like, again, Kerberos a little bit over eager on this dive, but it doesn't really put Fiora behind because she cast it on a kill. She has the call. She is gonna scale to the point where she becomes a menace in the side lane, and who stops that Fiora? Because LeBlanc ain't gonna be the one.
Not going to be the case at all, as actually Tempt able to kind of pressure in this lane somewhat here is then Voxney. Kasing actually getting caught out with that Graviton. He's going low, the Ignite is there! And then Voxney kind of just gets a bit of a freebie, to be honest.
And that is another time that Kasing overextends in lane, and Dusty have instantly punished him. And this is how the game 3 started. Sorry, the game 2 started with the Zeri started getting kills on then Voxney. It was sort of a misstep from Kasing, punishing from Dusty, and now you already have 1 kill on Aphelios with the call ticking down as well.
It's also flash gone from Kasing, and we did kind of say that the Zilean is not a laning champion. It can be abused.
It wasn't him on Zilean in game 2 as well. You're right. You're right.
But particularly into this game, right? We knew that the Zilean was going to be. I mean, this is good vision play, right? I actually wonder if this is communicative. Surely it was at this point. That seems to be very calculated. But then Voxney immediately popping the Ghost, realizes that they have the chase down. Next 7's bot lane getting caught again for the 2nd game in a row.
Yeah, and top lane is stacking a wave as well. They might be looking for another dive onto Chasey, but this time the Ignite is not up on Kerberos. Chasey has his ultimate up and available, so I think you will need 3 members. You need Backlund up there, or I don't think Chasey is going to die that easily. But the thing with Fiora is you don't necessarily just want to kill her. You want to deny a bunch of gold, a bunch of experience, a bunch of these early items that will get her to snowball real quickly. You'll see the Viking is hovering towards the top side of the map, making sure his top laner stays alive. Really good stuff right there. I think Chasey only lost like about 2 or 3. Oh, Kasing.
Oh, they're jumping in onto Kasing again. He's been flashed onto. He gets a heal off, but this is an easy kill for Dem Voxney. His 2nd of the game. And once again, his Aphelios is starting to be a nuisance for X7.
This is so huge for Dusty, because whenever you have a split pusher in the game, and I know it's on the other side of the map, you want to, as X7, make sure you can stabilize the other side of the map and make sure you're split pushing and do stuff. If you have 2 kills on the Aphelios, remember, there's a break point where you have to go into the Aphelios and you don't have a choice of keeping it at arm's length. 2 kills is well on its way to that.
And we just need to mention here as well that when we saw that Aphelios versus Zeri matchup in game number 3, it was the Aphelios that was coming up on top with the right guns. You outrange the Zeri, you can teamfight better, you've got the right tools. And unfortunately here, if Attila falls behind again, then Vox is just going to take over the game.
Well, we're 7 minutes in right now. Dusty have got themselves a marginal gold lead. Only 500, but with the fact that they've won that previous game, with the fact they've shown us that now they are a team capable of challenging their opponents in X7. We'll see whether or not they can make this go all the way to game number 5 as Stend does end up taking a little bit of damage, and X7 were first to pick up the first dragon, and now they're actually going to turn their attention towards this Herald, but Curb is coming down. Dusty, they're looking at a challenge.
And they're both supports, level 5. And bot lane is not even there yet. It's a 4 versus 4.
Oh, that's a monkey spin. Curb has been caught. Curb is going down. Sten's not level 6, but Backlund jumps into the back. Temp's able to dodge away most of this ability. Oh, Lenkus with the flash into the wind becomes lightning. Able to find a second kill for his team.
Wait, Attila died in a 1v1. I was like, oh, I'm seeing kill notifications pop up. I'm looking down at X7, and Attila has just been popped.
Didn't Voxney just 1v1 Attila? Because these were the
he
only
did.
2 members that were coming up the river. And I think there must have been a chase from the river all the way to the mid lane. Then Voxney on this champion to be feared.
Now, I was actually wondering whether Attila was waiting for Den Voxney, but it turns out, I mean, look, he knows that he's around the area, but, I mean, he's going into the danger.
He's got the guns.
I mean, nature has a way of telling you things are dangerous by colors. Aphelios does that in League of Legends. Red and white means do not touch this, even with a 10-foot barge pole, and Attila didn't quite get the message and gets taken down.
Man, absolutely terrifying damage coming out from Den Voxney. He hasn't got an item yet as well. He's just fed.
Ace
To be
damages,
fair,
baby.
This is very uncharacteristic from Attila as well, because he has been so good and calculated in the early and mid stages. He knows exactly how much damage his champion does. He knows the skirmishes that he can take. So very uncharacteristic for him there to overextend and die on a 1 versus 1. And honestly, he must have Den Voxney on his sides right now. Because like, you solo killed me, I'm looking for that one back. You know this is happening.
That was personal.
This would mean a lot to Den Voxney, I'd imagine, as well. You know, last year, Summer, need we remind you all, was in the finals there. Won the finals in a reverse sweep. It's on its way there. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
I'm going to throw you really far back.
Oh, yeah?
Back to when I was doing the UK scene when I first started.
Oh, we're going back 10 years. Nice.
We're 7. We're actually going back quite a long way. Back to when Kerberos, when I first got to cast him at a finals, he got reverse swept by XL. Orcs was on that roster, so that's how long ago it was. If he beats out X7 in a reverse sweep, that'll just be the miracle of miracles. He hasn't won a championship title ever.
Orcs was in Excel and Kasink has played in Excel. Wow, mind-blowing Tempt.
Oh, Tempt indeed. The Tempt is going to be A-OK. Has still got 2 charges on that Spirit Rush as he had to use 1 to dodge away from that Wind Becomes Lightning. And then Voxney hasn't quite got the I'll just blow up everything guns, but he is going to be able to push the wave in fairly confidently. And Chasey has been ignited. The Winter's Wrath from Kerberos will secure him a kill and a bunch of plates as well.
Hold on. What is going on?
What happened to win lane win game? What happened to this X7 roster?
They're not winning lane, mate.
Which we knew was so strong individually. These are uncharacteristic mistakes, and Dusty are, credit to them, making them forced errors, but they're errors all the same.
I think this is a massive, massive homage to Dusty's mental fortitude.
Hugely.
How did they not break after those first 2 games? They have come back amazingly in that middle game and into game number 4, sorry. They are looking again to take this all the way.
Let's say it how it was. Dusty did not show up to play the game. Game 1 and game 2, there are willingness to engage, to touch skirmishes, to fist fights. Kerberos on that Darius is a reset switch that when it clicks, and it doesn't matter what champion he plays after that. Beautifully done, honestly, from Kerberos. And I'm going to be very critical with top laners because I've seen top laners play Sejuani who are usually playing fighters and brutes in the top lane. Their Sejuani doesn't look that clean. This one looked insanely good.
That was really good because, again, in this match, well, in any Fiora matchup, if you have kill pressure on them, you're looking to force riposte with something which isn't too valuable to you. That's the big thing you're doing. You're saying, look, if you force riposte, you're forced off a wave or whatever. This time, Chasey walks up and just greets a little bit for the farm. And Attila, well, we saw Tempt getting caught shopping one time.
Yeah, he is absolutely done. Stend with the final water attack. Pow, right in the kisser, he's down.
Okay, Attila and Kasink were one of the strongest bot lanes that we've had in the NLC. And especially with Attila getting so far ahead in the early game, having his Zeri, he has not lost in the champion. He only lost last game. Well, it seems to be the same case here because right now Dust are sitting 2,500 gold in the lead. They're all bunching up in the bot lane, but the tire platings are gone together with the tower, and the recipient of all that gold is then Voxney.
Okay.
If we can have a look at the gold right now to see the difference between 2,000
We're 13 minutes in and there's a 2k gold lead in the bot side. Demboxny is going to be, once again, a monster.
You get your first item at about 12 to 14 minutes, depending on how much gold you're getting. And
He's got his first item.
And he's got his first item, right? So this is, you put it against at 30 minutes. It's at 30 minutes. But when you have an extra 2,000 gold over your opponent, you're not only at your first item, you're almost another item ahead of your opposing carry. That is...
It's got an entire BF sword.
Yeah, and I love the swap on the macro as well, right here for Dusty sending that Aphelios towards the upside of the map. Only 2 mere tower platings remaining. Of course, tower platings are going to be turned off in about 20 seconds from now, which means you can take the tower much easier down, especially with 1.5 item Aphelios, a BF sword after the Gale Force as well. So a bunch of money in that Aphelios, a lot of damage right now. Likas also always shadowing.
Oh, he's getting a plate.
He's got Crescendum, he can do it.
4, 3...
He's not getting all of them.
Okay,
He's getting at least one.
Okay.
That's an extra 160 gold. That's half a kill he got.
6 tower platings on that Aphelios and 2 towers. That is a massive amount of gold that he is ahead, but...
Oh, no.
Oh.
Ghost popped. Chasey.
Oh, he does not have the damage.
He's in trouble. He can do everything. Curb with the solo kill. Chasey couldn't even riposte because he knew how that was going. Phenomenal from Kerberos.
The funny thing is that me and Amer just stand outside. I'm like, what?
Legitimately, what happened between game 2 and 3?
Darius
Legitimately, what happened? Darius happened.
happened.
Maybe it is flipping that switch. Maybe it's something mental because this team, Dusty, are revitalized.
You are forgetting that both Alawi and Darius have a shared secret passive.
Excuse me.
It's tilt. Playing into them tilts your opponent. That's what it is.
Next game, we're seeing Singed. If we get a next game, of
I
course.
literally
It's
just thought of
Kerberos. He
Singed.
might do it.
I literally just thought of Singed as well.
But I mean, as much as this is fantastic from Dusty in so many ways,
Oh, Attila.
What? But
Yeah, really balanced.
X7, we were ready to call this series over. I certainly was. And X7, walking into this, it was so easy to fit the storyline because X7 had slammed every other team in playoffs. And X7, and now over-calculating. They are, well, I mean, maybe they are calculating things, but this game, they're bad at maths.
This 1v1 is very interesting because the repost is a lower cooldown than the second stun that Sejuani has. So you can get the first proc, you can repost that with Fiora, but when you can start stacking the second passive from Sejuani to get the stun, the repost is not there. That means Kerberos, all he has to do is chase down the Fiora, get the first repost, stack his passive again, and then ult back to back. That didn't even take his ignite on the 1 versus 1. He has his Frostfire Gauntlet as well. And I just want to reiterate here how huge even a Frozen Heart would be in the backline of X7 with all these auto-attackers.
Viking jumps in, but he's getting double chained there. Chasey is going to be able to save the day as Viking has been ignited. Sten flashes forward, tries to throw the Q out. Does still have himself the hostile takeover as backline looks for another chain. That's going to force Tempt to jump away. The handshake comes down. Curb is here though, and Curb is a formidable Sejuani to be dealing with. Tempt about to run out of charges on that Spirit Rush. He jumps in for the charm, able to land onto Linkus and get a light trade off, but that is all of the ultimates burnt there by Tempt.
And most of the time, in this situation, I would think you're losing Dragon, oh well, but you're probably losing mid outer turret and you're losing Dragon. The Herald is here too. Can they stop it before it charges? I don't think they can. Honestly, they are taking X7 to town.
I think my question here is not how Dusty get that second win, because it looks pretty much won unless I just jinxed it. It's how do X7 reset from the back-to-back loss, because Zeri, which was their champion that they would be one, they would have priority on, that Attila would never lose on, has lost back-to-back.
And we don't see an awful lot of Aphelios as an answer into Zeri. Now, we have seen some champions answer Zeri. I used to think, in a lot of ways, Sivir was a good anti-Zeri champion.
Yeah.
In the NLC, that's not really been the case, because players like Attila have been so good at that matchup. But it seems like, at least in this region, at least in this series, at least today, this Aphelios is the kryptonite. It's the Zeri kryptonite.
So for me, the thing is, Sivir has like a double side to her, right? You can leave her alone in the bot lane.
Yeah.
Your support can roam all the way. But Dusty right here are playing for lane dominance, which is something that X7 have been doing this entire split. Attila and Kasink have been playing for lane dominance. They have been playing for early game platings. And right here, Sten doesn't care about roaming them up because he knows it's all about getting his AD carry ahead on this pick. This is why the Sivir is not coming through. You don't necessarily want to leave him alone down the bot lane. And if he can play the Aphelios like this, you see that the second his jungle got caught in the mid lane, the Aphelios stepped forward, started threatening with damage. So I'm just really enjoying this then Voxner performance here.
I also find it just kind of a little bit hilarious that Kerberos can threaten with damage just sitting in a bush. It's literally just like actual solo killer Kerberos. He's following you about 30 bushes
Okay,
back.
actually, I have seen a Sejuani damage matching a Wukong damage on a game that a Wukong got ahead in damage and got ahead in general.
And honestly,
so that Sejuani is scary, okay?
And
This
if
is
you're
the
going
new
up to
Ornn.
and if you're going up to team fights, you have to be aware of that. The extra pylon damage from people who aren't the main carries of Dusty is going to be considerable.
They're all squishies, so the base damage from Sejuani when they're leveled up on her skills are going to significantly hurt. Mind you, Kerberos has been solo killing JC back to back without even using Ignite.
Yeah, well, actually jumping in, Viking is going to pop the ultimate, but
Flank
he gets
TP,
caught out
flank TP.
immediately. There is a really nice ultimate coming in from Sten, but like you said, Teleport has come in on the backline. Temp's looking to try and find himself the charm, able to get it. Sten gets the bailout onto himself, but it's not going to do enough as Temp jumps over the wall. Temp! That might not have been the play. Kasing comes in with the clock block to keep Temp alive, but Linkus jumps over the wall once again, pops the ultimate, able to get away. Sten goes down, and that is going to be 1 for X7.
That was a really nice pickup right there from X7. They need to get something going on the map, and they pick on the squishiest member, which is Stand onto that Renata. Really good start. I think they kill
Oh!
Buckland!
Bye-bye, Attila. 0-3 in game number 4.
And that is kind of what I was about to say about the outro of that fight. You get a kill, awesome. You burn some summoners, you burn some ultimates, great. You know that X7 are probably not going to be losing a fight in the next couple of moments, but you don't get to push out. You're still in your own side of the map. You're still in your own jungle, and Dusty, Backland, picking up huge amounts of slack.
I'm gonna say this again. This is so freaking uncharacteristic of Attila, and I'm gonna hold my words here.
Oh no, that actually might be a little bit dangerous for Linkus, but he's able to survive for now. Curb jumps in, then Voxy is in range, throws down the cube, but can't quite hit it. And now actually Viking's gonna look to chase for a little bit more. The clone gonna buy a bit of space for him, and he's gonna be able to get away from that one. Got heated there in the jungle.
So, just to go back to my point, this is how... Never mind replay, let's go!
Well, I mean, this is, whenever you go into one of these side lane inner towers against X7, it feels like they just have like the, haha, we have our trap card now. Now, this isn't going to be like a game-ending play, but we saw it versus Astralis, saw it even a couple of times in our previous games. Oh my
Not
gosh.
again.
Actual solo killer
Not
Kerberos at it again.
No, he's being chased. He
Surely
puts
not.
down everything. He still holds the riposte a little longer, but you can't riposte auto attacks because Den Voxney is sliding in. Another kill, 4 to Den Voxney. The Danish powerhouse in these finals.
What does X7 get on the other side of the map? They do have Linkus on their sides, but Linkus is a Zinzal, very tanky with gold drink and double HP items in the inventory. Flash and ult. You do not dive this. I'm gonna try to make my point for a third time.
Go for
this
it.
is how uncharacteristic
Now
it
is the
is
time.
from Attila. To be 0-3 after laning phase. Look at the damage per minute this guy, look at the numbers he's been putting out. He's always up in CS as well. He averages 10.8 on the Zeri. And these stats are particularly on the champion that he is losing. He lost the previous game, game 3, and now he's losing game 4 on as well. This is what I'm saying. What does X7 do to reset if they lose this game? Because the champion that was working so well for them is just not it.
And imagine saying that after the first 2 games. Imagine saying that X7, how do you reset after a game 4 loss, after the crushing first 2? But
On your champions as well, on your terms.
champions. And we were talking about it being, you know, comfort versus comfort in a lot of cases. And in this game now, Dusty are with a huge
Dusty
advantage.
seem more comfortable, apparently.
Definitely do. And you see them starting to flex their muscles, looking for something, looking for anything. See if that Sejuani ult gets pulled. Of course, that's really important to try and lock up the front line. Look to see how the clone is used in particular for Viking. That can be a bit of disengage.
Ooh.
Chasey able to slide away there from what could have been a little bit scary for them. Charm does land onto Linkus. But Linkus, very tanky as mentioned before. Dragon is up. This will be number 3 for the side of Dusty if they can get it. They are playing a little bit into the fog of war though. They don't quite see exactly where it's going on, but there's going to be the Dragon secured for the side of Dusty. They throw down the hostile takeover as well from Kasing just to make sure. And Chasey now being careful. He's going to get himself caught out. The riposte goes down. They actually miss out on the ultimate, so Chasey is able to get away. Clock comes down, not going to get the bomb off, and it looks like should just be the end of that fight there.
And
for
you
Dusty.
don't have to fight. You got the objective you came in for. You don't have Renata ult, you don't have Sejuani ult. These are your 2 big engage /disengage ults. And X7 might find this as an opportunity to maybe pick up a kill.
Yeah, they are just going to catch onto Viking's clone, but they do catch out onto Viking. Viking has to flash away from the Moonlight Vigil. Then Voxney would have got a lot of chakrams there. That could have been very scary for them. Temp looks for backline. The flash comes out. He dodges away on the charm just about. Backline actually chases into Attila's face there just to get a little bit of poke and prod off.
Even in this game where you're now against Infernal Soul Point, when you're getting choked out of vision and you're struggling to make that damage stick, Tempt is actually playing fairly well on the Ahri. In that fight there, you can see actually forcing Backland's flash just by cooldown counting, realizing that he can just play heads up and say, okay, these are the cooldowns that are available, this is what we can go for. Tempt is actually still fairly threatening. Watch out for him.
I want to talk a little bit about the top lane as well, because Curb, we had him on the Camille. He looked so rough on those Camilles, 2 games, and I went, stop playing Camille. I'm going to have to say a thing about Chasey now, because he's played 2 games on Fiora. Stop playing the Fiora, Chasey. You need to play something a little bit different.
The difference here is, though, that Fiora is Chasey's champion that he dominated the Excel series with, for example. And right here, I always like to keep an eye on itemization when it comes to the tanks and what they share, whether they go thumbnail, frozen, yada yada. I love the fact that Kerberos went for that
Warmogs.
Warmogs, thank you very much. As a second item, because it allows him to get poke from all this poke that X7 has, and then get back into fog of war, reset his HP bar, and then be that frontal again. Dusty, are they baiting a fight right here because they have the tools to start it?
Oh, Attila eats a Q, just gets a little bit of damage. They decide actually to back off right now. Then Voxing has the inside track on mid, though.
Yeah.
So he's going to catch the wave, shove it in. Attila gets a lot of damage off there onto Stend with that W. This tower should pretty much go down to Den Voxney. On the other side of the map, Chasey is going to split push on the Fiora, but he needs to reset, as you can see on his screen, because Curb was rotating down. It was too risky for him to stay, but Dusty, they don't need to worry about him now. They can turn their attention towards this Baron once again.
Yeah, okay, catching the casing. Oh, this could be a dead Zillion.
Shane's land, he froze. Oh, it's too early, pings back.
I think he was a little bit afraid of someone else being around the corner. What happens if you need Everfrost into a charm from Tempt? You don't want to throw away your life. You get the Zillion off for free, that's fine. You get the Zillion off the map, that's also fine. But while this is happening, X7 at least managed to get some side lane plays. They don't have objective bounties anymore. That's not going to be claimed at that point, but they do manage to open up the map a little more, and maybe, and it's a hard ask, maybe they can get the Fiora into the game through the wider map now.
And you can see the 2 champions in the mid lane, right, who usually like to play pretty much the exact same game. They're a very similar type of champion, correct me if I'm wrong, because you know a lot about Ahri. But you see the difference in itemization here. One is going for Everfrost into, I'm trying to get so much pen as possible to try and break through these 2 mid walls in front of the Aphelios, whilst the other one is like, I will blow up your front line.
I'm not going to lie, this actually might be one of the Leandri's Ahri games that you needed to do. The Everfrost is pretty okay for trading through the wave against something like a LeBlanc, because normally you can't trade through a wave against a LeBlanc. But yeah, if we're going to talk about itemization, Tempt is going to struggle to kill the backline, whereas on the other side, you have Hat, you have Staff, you have...
You're a wizard! A traditional wizard, staff and hat.
You're a wizard, Buckland.
You're leaving this mortal coil, Attila, as like the QR combo comes down. But that's legitimately what you've got. Tempt, and this has happened a couple of times with Tempt where he's had to play from behind, as the Ahri actually. You have to be very, very good at finding your targets, and doing that through a front line like this is just very difficult. He is on the side lane though, he's shadowing the Fiora. What can you do here?
Well, Curb able to dodge away on that Everfrost there. The slow will not go down thanks to Sejuani passive. We got 44 seconds until Infernal Soul comes up, so we need to watch the setup into this.
But I really like the setup right there from X7. Tried to get a pick possibly on the side lane, which is the bot side of the map, to try and potentially create flanks for that next Dragonfly, because it's going to be an Infernal. There's 2 already in the pocket of Dusty, so the Soul is going to hurt so much.
Ooh,
all that
Curb.
extra damage on LeBlanc with Infernal Soul.
Curb.
What happened to the solo kills?
He has a Warmogs though, so he should be okay. His backline's found Chasey. Chasey riposts. He riposts everything. He's able to survive. Sten now jumping in. Voxney untouched for the moment. They're trying to find an opportunity. His Tempt can't quite find the charm. Sten Voxney is going to be a-okay. Curb healing back up from that Warmogs. Chasey, on the other hand, not got quite that level of sustain. Does have himself a Hydra.
Ultimate check. No top lane, no jungle for the side of Dusty. How do you engage? Kerberos doesn't have ultimate on that Sejuani. All he can do is just soak up damage. It's all up to the Voxney and Buckland to find the damage needed.
Okay, let's see if that Warmogs can come off. That's the hostile takeover.
Not going to quite hit onto anyone. Gets the double jump off. Vikings clone takes most of the damage though. They find himself a kill onto Sten. extent. A beautiful pick up there by JC. Dragon is secured for the side of Dusty. They have the soul. Backlund has 2 kills, and Attila is trying to find a pop-off moment, but he can't do so. Lincoln slides in. Attila going to be able to survive it just a while longer. The W comes down. Curb is low HP, but Denvoxney full health and untouchable to the side of X7.
I think that Vox is one of the best positioning affiliates we have seen in the league right now. The way that he will put his body in the front when he has the red and the white gun, knowing the limits of his champion, covering for his teammates. You saw it right there. They were chasing after the fight. He was putting his body forward, having that much HP. And of course, I mentioned the red and the white. They're going to burn down the Baron too.
That's going to be it. Presumably, that's going to go down without a fight, but look at how much Attila does on the other side of this. Attila is actually getting scary again. Need I point out the clock? It is past that 26 minutes. It's not 3 items. Attila hasn't been in this game for the grand majority of it, but you can't write X7 off when it comes to those team fights. But yeah, really got to call out Denvoxney again.
Honestly,
these AD carries are becoming
honestly, I thought he was not going to flash out of this pit and just mow everyone down with the red and the white gun. I think obviously better safe than sorry right there. You got the objective you came in for, flashing out the pit, but the fact that again, he throws his HP bar at the front of the fight to bail out teammates, to catch these last picks, has been so instrumental in both of these Dusty games that we're seeing him on the affiliates.
And as we see the team cameras, it tells a very different story from the first 2 games.
They were so close.
X7 was so ecstatic. They were so happy watching them. You go over to the Dusty cam and they looked miserable. Now Dusty, they're clapping, they're having fun. X7, we look over to them and we see the frustration in the green room for the side of X7.
Now, with that, Infernal Soul taken by Dusty. That means objective bounties are back up on the map for X7. That's how far the game has determined they are behind. And if you're looking at this LeBlanc, get ready for absurd damage numbers. Because you land a Q, you land a chain, that's just, I mean, it's going to be absurd.
And Namera, how difficult is it to play this area at this point? Because everyone except the LeBlanc is pretty beefy. You've got Bloodthirster on Aphelios, you've got Stopwatch on Aphelios.
Oh!
Linkas is dead.
It's pretty bloody hard because he gets himself blown up, but they do find a quick turnaround. Denvoxney gets himself a grabs him off. Tempt is almost down, but he's able to survive. Here comes Attila to maybe try and save the day for his team, but he can't do anything. Kerberos, like you said, in the mid lane. Denvoxney, 2 Baroned up cannon minions behind him, and Attila has to somehow deal with Curb on the siege as everybody else is trying to deal with Denvoxney topside. The tower goes down. Look at the damage onto Chasey from Backlund, and Chasey just jumps into the waiting jaws of Kerberos as they snap shut. X7 are starting to lose members. They're starting to lose structures in their base. Maybe Tempt can find a hero play from the Ahri on the back line.
He's on vision. He has
can't do anything, and it looks like Dusty might just be looking to try and close this one out here. They're going onto the towers. Viking jumps forward. Everybody gets caught out. Viking's clone is going to fade out as Viking's just able to hold out, but the Nexus has been left bare here by the side of Dusty. It's time to play Silver Scrapes, baby. We're going to game number 5.
What a performance coming off of a 0-2. Game number 3, Zen puts all of his players on comfort. They get comfortable, they stomp game 3. Game 4, it's all about the front to back. It's all about figuring out that Aphelios is working so well for you. Capitalize on that, try to support it, and that's exactly what they did with this draft.
It's stepping up on an individual level, it's stepping up on a strategic level. And Dusty, once again, show the product of consistent improvement, consistent adaptation. This team has never stopped improving. And in this series, they show the mindset it takes to achieve that result.
Is LFL watching?
I mean, that is a scary Dusty to go 2-0 down. A 0-2 down in such a dominating fashion to then turn it around and look this great coming into game 3, game 4. We are potentially looking at our first reverse sweep in an incredibly long time here in the UK scene. Well, the Nordics as well, but as long as I've been doing this region and the regions that preceded it, I haven't seen a reverse sweep in years. It would be amazing. I think it's time for us, though, to pass it over to Archeron and the rest of the desk to break down that absolutely bonkers game number 4.
Game 5, game 5, game 5, game 5!
Welcome back, everyone. We got 5 games we promised you. We built up 1 hour of pre-show just for this. Lo and behold, then he lost 3 times in a row. I don't know.
Imagine.
There's a lot to dive into this one. Shall we start?
Where do we start?
Where do we start?
Let's start with the bot lane. It's really important.
Yeah.
For the first time, we get to see Renata. And the way Stand is playing, for some reason, he was voted MVP as a support. I think we have a replay. I want to slap this one instantly because the play brought in on the Fog of War was gorgeous. Look at this. They're like, oh, he's alone. He's alone.
It's a bait on a bait because they think they've got that recall, but Sten's waiting off vision, gets the initial kill, and it happens again shortly after, and suddenly Vox Nezafelios starts the game 2-0. He's up 2,000 gold by 10 minutes or something stupid like that. That is a dream come true. And honestly, the side of the bot lane for X7, they looked shaky. There was 0 and 5 coming into a Herald fight.
Yes, it's not working out for them. Yeah. Tell me.
Now, we have said it. Surely they're not getting Seri right. But surely then Voxne is not getting Aphelios for the last game.
Second time, yeah.
Yeah, right?
So what can we say about his Aphelios? Tell me.
Aphelios has just been insane. Through the laning phase, through the solo kill in the mid lane on Attila.
With that?
Yeah, I want
Give me
that.
that replay.
Just look
Let's
at
look
him
into the
just
mid lane.
running down Attila. It was one of the best things about the game.
Because this is, it's happening something, and we
Yeah.
look into this side of the team fight, and you're like, oh, this is working bad for Dusty, but in the end, they pull it through. But there's something else happening.
And the first thing here is the Xin Sao. You see the flashing
this.
gate is so clear that, wait, what? The Moxley killed Attila? What happened?
That he is.
And then it's like, oh, this is a Seri. I will
walks
just run her down.
His screen is elsewhere. His screen is
I know,
definitely
like,
elsewhere.
This is the first time I see Viking like this. This is the first time. We were talking about mental resilience for Dusty. Can they pull it off? And you just saw Viking.
Yeah,
He's fuming.
I really want to drop in here as well.
Drop.
Because there was a conversation about how confident X7 were and how disciplined they were on their run through. That game was not disciplined at all. A lot of really foolish errors. Yes, forced, as Nymera was saying, but errors nonetheless. 2 solo kills in a row on the Fiora into the Sejuani matchup. Attila walking with his screen elsewhere and just walking through a 2-0 Aphelios to give him a third for free. You cannot make those mistakes when you're in this series, when you're giving this momentum up. And at finals, with 2 games back-to-back having been 2-0 up, the reverse sweep is truly alive, and the mentality and that discipline has really cracked for X7.
And before we put the replay, the last one, I would like to talk about something, everyone. I would like to do something, okay? We stopped an accident on the green room because you wanted to tweet Game 5. And
It was
you know
close.
the curse from the castle, like, don't you do it. It's too soon. And my idea was, as soon as both teams have enough items, they get all the power spikes and they collide. That's when we get to see what's really happening. And I want to bring up that Soul Team fight where it could go for both ways. So I don't know who wants to take this one, gentlemen, because it's a chaotic one. Who wants to take this?
The play-by-play.
I will take this
Let's
one.
go,
Let's
Attila.
go. So the important things to notice here is actually Attila is free firing for so long, and it comes down to a smite fight. And the moment Sten dies, you think there's no bailout. This is the way this works. And yes, you've got Severin Crescendo in the pit, but that smite fight gets down close, and he flashes out because of the grand challenge. But then Voxne nearly wipes that. And at the end of this, because the soul goes over, it's basically a massive win for Dusty. And Attila just about survives. But if that dragon had gone down the other way, you get another 5 minutes. Zeri gets to keep scaling the way she was, and that's very different. And the fact that that fight got so close, it's going to be a little bit of a review point, I think, for Dusty, because that should never have been an angle back into the game. And the fact it was, bit concerning.
While we were doing interviews on the media day, I talked with Dim Voxne, and he told me, when I asked him, can you change any player on your team and still have Dusty? And he told me, no. If you want to change anyone on Dusty, it has to be at least 3 to 4 members to have a decent team, because if you take one away from the equation, it just doesn't work. And on the first game, I didn't see that. On the second game, I'm like, it's not Dusty. On the third and fourth one, you now see that everybody can carry, and if one bails out, the other one is there to support. This is the family we brought in. This is like the Vin Diesel buff of it's family, for family.
He's just coming in from outer space with Aphelios arms, like, here I come, the moonlight vigil is over. I leave my satellite to rejoin the mortals on Earth.
So, to summarize this game, gentlemen, I need a sentence from both of you. I'll start with you, and then I'll toss it to you, Tom Kick. Give me one sentence to summarize this fourth game. Seems lovely. What about you?
Ill-disciplined.
Ooh, okay. Tom Kick.
There is no way Dusty reverse sweeps X7, right?
You had to do it. Right. Guys, I know we can't do it on the live audience because we don't have it right now, but chat, it's on you to boo this man, okay?
You do it. I want to see
Spam
boos in
the
chat. I'm going to
boo
about
on the
watch at that
chat.
one.
I'm going to see the replay. I'm counting on you, chat. So before we move on,
feel
into
like
the
I
last
so well.
game, regardless of what happens, it's going to be the last game, fifth game on the grand finals. We need to understand how the players felt before coming into the stage and understand the experience and how the nervous system was handling it. Take a look.